Hello, it's Charlotte's sister C. Farrell, host of Powered by Age, Canada's longest-running senior-led podcast that invites you to do what you love.
This podcast is for you if you love writing or telling stories, if you love sharing poetry or doing interviews.
This podcast is for you if you love working on ways to create age-friendly cities.
This podcast is for you if you love learning how to tame technology and get more out of virtual events, if you love finding more ways to share your heritage or traditions.
If you love any of these things, you can go beyond listening and join our weekly podcast group. Simply email pbaafc@gmail.com and put your name in the subject line. Powered by Age is sponsored by the Government of Canada, New Horizons Grant, the 411 Senior Center Society, and G&F Financial Group. Hello and welcome to Powered by Age, Canada's longest-running senior-led podcast. I'm Charlotte Farrell, your host, and today we're doing Awesome August, and we're featuring a travelogue, Nansey's travelogue, where we will, in this hot day, be able to see what we might enjoy if we got on one of the ferries and visited some of the neighboring islands. And we are also looking at some ways of sharing this podcast with YouTube. So we will find out how that happens. And in the meantime, I'll let the people that are here right now introduce yourself, starting with Nansey.
I'm Nansey Sinclaire, and I'm a podcast mentor with Powered by Age, and I'm excited today to share a little invitation to come to Vancouver Island in Nanaimo. Thank you.
Leslie?
Yes, I'm Leslie Hebert from New Westminster. I teach English as a second language online via Skype, and I also write short stories, poetry, travel articles. And I'm also currently writing a travelogue about a trip to Japan, and I'm really interested today in listening to Nansey's travelogue about getting to the island and what we can do over there.
Okay. Jesse?
Hi, I'm Jesse Wensloff. I'm the Public Affairs Coordinator at CJSF and Tech Support and Podcast Mentor here at Powered by Age. And I'm excited to hear about a little virtual vacation and maybe inspire myself to go visit the island.
Neil?
Yeah, my name is Neil Ryan. I am a self-published poet and author of a couple of books, and one is poetry and short stories, and one is just a book of short stories that I just put to bed. So, I love Nanaimo. I've been there a couple times. I was to a conference there, and I did a presentation about something about business about 30 years ago, but the ferry trip over there is awesome, and the little turn it makes at the end past the little island there. I think is that called the Guardian? Anyway, it's a great little location. Love it.
Dr. Ramona?
Hi, everyone. And I'm sorry to join a bit late, but I'm very delighted to be here with all of you today. I've been a teacher all my life, and since I'm new to Vancouver, I'm really looking forward to listening to Nansey Sinclaire talk about the islands. So far, I've been to short walks with my daughter to Granville Island, and from there, we walked to English Beach, or is it Bay? I'm not sure. That was a really long walk. So from Granville Island to English Bay.
English
Bay. Okay, thank you. The sea there reminded me of the Bombay port. Like, the one which is near our house, which is Falls Creek. It doesn't really look like the ocean. So I was very happy to see the sea there. And from there, we walked to Stanley Park, Prospect Point, through the forest, through. So it was good. That was the first time I took my mask off and I could kind of inhale some sense of some kind of herbal feeling. It was a feeling there was herbal plants around. So that was a terrific day. really long walk. And in Vancouver, I have visited the Sunshine Coast because my sister lives in Gibson, but that is it. So really looking forward to listen to Nansey today. Thank you.
And I'm Charlotte, the host. I'm a poet and filmmaker, and I love water. I've used water as a mental exercise, but also as a place to just enjoy nature and the creative waves it gives you. I'm also a health educator who loves doing movement and mind exercises. And if we have time today, we're going to do just a little bit of elegant movement. I'd like to acknowledge that our broadcast and work takes place on the unceded territories and ancestral lands of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And we also continue to be in support, prayers with the families of the people whose children's bodies have been discovered and are still being discovered, and just look forward to a reconciliation and comfort with that matter. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nansey. Nansey is a former radio show host. She has a pet owner. She's the owner of a pet-friendly business. It's called the Happiest Spot. And sometimes on a hot day like this, I'd like to be in a happy spot like that. But she's going to take us to a happy spot along the waterfront. So welcome, Nansey.
Oh, thanks, Charlotte. Thank you. So PowerPoint presentation to extend an invitation to come to Nanaimo from Vancouver. A day of travel to Nanaimo, British Columbia on Vancouver Island. Come spend the day taking in the sights, eating some tasty food, checking out perhaps the art gallery or museum, and even better than that, get a tasty Nanaimo Bar as a sweet treat. One of the things we're known for. So to travel from West Vancouver, the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal to Departure Bay Ferry Terminal, it's about 1 hour and 40 minutes for the travel time. And you travel by BC Ferries. Their office is open Monday to Friday from 7 in the morning to 10 in the evening if you wanted to get a hold of them to get some travel information. Saturdays and Sundays, they're open from 7 in the morning just until 7 in the evening. So it's 3 hour shorter time, but they are available. The 1-800 number. And you could go to their website, which is www.bcferries.com. And they're really wonderful. You might have to wait on hold for quite a bit of time, but it really is worthwhile if you're wanting to talk to a real live person just to ask the ins and outs of what it would look like. So now I picked traveling from West Vancouver, the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal to Departure Bay Ferry Terminal, because if somebody's traveling, perhaps they're walking on, it's probably an easier ferry departure point than it would be going to Tsawwassen, because Tsawwassen is further out. You know, if you're living downtown Vancouver, it's a bit of a trek to get onto the bus. BC Transit does have bus available to Tsawwassen, but it's long and involved and it takes a lot of time. So it made sense to me that if you're going to come over to Nanaimo, pretty much any part of the lower mainland you live in, the best thing would be to get to Horseshoe Bay, and you could get there, you know, either have a friend drop you off, a family member, drive your car and park in the parking spaces there. You could take a taxi. And like I say, and there is the bus system. So if you were living, say, in downtown Vancouver, you might have to take the transit bus, and you could have connections through the C bus and or the SkyTrain. So there's lots of different options, but it's quite involved because, you know, when you live in Vancouver, everything's about time and how much time it takes to get through the traffic. So you always want to look at the time that the ferry's departing. I would give yourself, you know, a good half an hour to be there before the ferry departs, and then work all of your time backwards from that to know what time you have to physically be leaving your house to get there on time. And basically in the lower mainland, it's a good hour any which way you look at it where you're coming from. And now we're into summertime. Lots of people are starting to travel now because we're in phase 3 of the BC startup plan. Summer's dwindling down. There's lots of people that have already been off because of COVID. There's people that are off on summer holidays. People are getting a little bit anxious about, the summer winding down, but they're also excited about the fact that things have opened up. So there's a lot more traffic on the road, and the ferries have been exceptionally busy, and in some cases not taking vehicle reservations. And another thing to think about as well, and I didn't know this, I found out years ago, I just always assumed that reservations, that the ferry would only get booked fully with vehicle reservations. They actually have a limit for walk-on passengers. So that happened to me a few years back where we were traveling over Thanksgiving and we couldn't get onto the ferry because the passenger reservations were so full. So just enough thought just to give yourself ample time for planning purposes. So Monday to Thursday, if you're a senior, age 65 and over, you get to travel for free. And that's from Horseshoe Bay. It actually from Tsawwassen as well, but like I say, we're focusing on Horseshoe Bay. So Horseshoe Bay, which is in West Vancouver, to Departure Bay, which is down in Nanaimo. They have priority seating for seniors and those with disabilities in the cafeteria areas. And they have a number of different cafeteria areas on the ship itself. They have ramps and elevators both in the terminal and on the ferries themselves. Masks right now with COVID, like I say, we're in stage 3 of the restart plan. They're not mandatory. However, they are recommended. And they have BC Transit bus stops at both terminals. So the bus arrives right down inside of Horseshoe Bay, right in front of the ferry. And the same in the Nanaimo and the Departure Bay arrivals. Now, Horseshoe Bay is a very busy place. And the bus lineup gets very busy when you're returning and you want to get into the line to get back into town. But it's an hour and 40-minute ride. So you probably are not going to be wanting to take the last ferry home because you're not going to get there until after midnight. And then, of course, transportation's either going to have been prearranged with somebody that you know or a taxi. And then depending where you're going, taxi can get expensive. So those are just some considerations. There's also an option if you want to have some fun and adventure. You could take a seaplane over to Nanaimo from Vancouver. And that's fun because they go up and over Stanley Park. And the view is just absolutely breathtaking. So over Stanley Park, over the bridge, it's about a 20-minute flight. And they have 2 different seaplane locations here in Nanaimo. And from Vancouver, you would take a seaplane from downtown Vancouver. Now, they've done lots of construction. I haven't been down to the seaplane for a number of years, and I know they were doing a lot of construction down in the Vancouver area. So if it was something you'd consider, I would definitely take the time to phone them and find out all the logistics in terms of flight times, and then again, work it backwards. How much time in advance would you have to be there without adding pressure to your day, to arrive, get your baggage, whatever it is you're taking with you for the day, into the terminal, get checked in, adhere to whatever their COVID requirements are, and then be able to get on the seaplane and enjoy it and have a good time. Parking's always a big thing in a place like Vancouver. And so I have their phone number here, and their website is Harbour Air, HARBOUR air.com. So that's just a little bit of a fun way to come over. And this is a picture of Departure Bay, which you would be arriving in the ferry. And look at that beautiful blue water. And the little island in the back that you see right there, that is Newcastle Island. And they have a couple of raccoons on there, and one is an albino, a white raccoon. And I actually got to see it once, so that's pretty cool. So this picture is from my side. This is from Departure Bay and the Nanaimo side. This actually is like 5 minutes from where I live in Departure Bay, and that's looking out to the sound over to Vancouver, and you can see the mountains and stuff. And on a clear day, I mean, it's breathtaking at any time, but on a clear day, to be able to see directly across the sound, to see the mountains, to see the snow on top of the mountains, the clouds, it's just absolutely breathtaking. And to the little island on the left there, as you're facing the picture, that's the biological station here in Nanaimo. And this is a picture from the Nanaimo Harbor, looking again over towards the sound, over towards Vancouver. And that dock that you see, that's where the seaplane comes in. That's where the seaplane comes in. So you can literally jump on that plane, have had, say, breakfast at home, land, walk up the ramp, and there's ice cream shops and coffee shops right there. So you could just come over and have dessert right away.
Sounds yummy.
Exactly. And so this is the departures area. This is BC Ferries at Departure Bay. And so that gate that you see directly in front, if you happen to come over and you brought a pet with you, like a puppy, most cats don't go on leash, but I have seen them. But if you brought a puppy over, or you want to, or actually if you just wanted to come around, you didn't necessarily want to go through the passenger area, that gate just comes up from when you exit the ship if you're a walk-on passenger. And BC Ferries is really wonderful. You know, when you arrive at the ferry terminal, if you need assistance of any sort with your luggage, if you happen to, have a walker or a cane, or you just, maybe you just need some extra assistance for whatever reason, the staff is wonderful. You just need to let them know when you're arriving to get your ticket. They'll give you a hand. They do have wheelchairs available there, so even if you don't typically use a wheelchair, but it can be a little exhausting. It's a long distance from the ticket terminal up to the waiting room, and then if it's busy, that can be overwhelming as well because there's lots of people. So they can assist you with a manual chair. So it's always good to keep that in mind as well. And this is in Departure Bay. The ferry arrival and departure doors would be to the left, and these people are just waiting for the next ferry to come in. This is the arrivals gate. And they have ticket booths as well. Like you can go to an actual booth and speak to an agent, or they have like a self-serve kiosk, which is over on the right. They have washrooms on all these different levels. So when you come in and out of these doors, there's a set of washrooms there. There's a customer service counter there. The luggage, even if you just had like a small, even say you just had a day pack for the day, you can put it on the luggage carousel and just check it in. They have a scale there that weighs it, tell you whether it's light, a little bit heavier, or too heavy. And if it's too heavy, they don't really want you putting it on there. But you can just put your bags on there. They have a little shuttle, little trailer that takes it onto the ferry. You don't need to worry about it because then you can just go on board and sit and enjoy yourself. When you go through these doors, they have some coffee shops there. There's like Starbucks and pizza and fudge, candy, that kind of stuff. And they had little souvenir things that you can purchase. Now, I don't know what things are like right now with COVID. I do believe that they've opened up a little bit. And again, masks are not necessarily mandatory. And you can just, do whatever is your comfort level. And so there's a large waiting room on this side. And they'll give you lots of notice when the ship's landing and when you need to get back to your vehicle if you had decided to bring a vehicle. Lots of notice for walk-on passengers of when you're going to need to start getting ready to board the ship. And again, there's on this side, there's escalators and elevators and a set of stairs. And there's always somebody there that can assist you. And this is when you arrive on the Nanaimo side. The bus stop is right there as soon as you come out of the arrivals area. And their phone number is located there on the sign as well. If you were to, I don't know the bus schedule itself, because of course it would vary depending on what time of day you're arriving. But to go to downtown Nanaimo is probably, if you were to walk it, you'd be there within about, you could walk along the waterfront, which is a nice little stroll. Probably take you about 45 minutes to an hour, depending if you just wanted to take in the sights as you were going along. Taxi ride be less than 10 minutes, probably be around about $20. And they do have wheelchair accessible taxis as well. And so if you needed that, you can just let them know when you contact the taxi company that you'd like a wheelchair accessible. And they generally have taxis waiting on site when the ferry arrives. And if for whatever reason it happened to be particularly busy, because it's the first come, first serve in the lineup, you can phone them and they'll get a taxi down there very quickly. They're very accommodating. AC Taxis is the name of one of the taxi companies. And they're very reliable, very dependable, and very courteous. So Translink, this is the Vancouver side. So if you wanted to contact them in advance, if you're making plans of how you're going to come over, they have their website, which quite personally, I always prefer to speak to somebody instead of trying to navigate the website and see if I can figure out all the scheduling and stuff. So Translink is at 604-953-3333. And they can help you with your complete planning. They can take you from where you're starting to where you need to go and then how to get back. And it just takes the pressure off of, I can say, trying to sort it all out yourself. So that Translink will cover your bus, sea bus, and SkyTrain. And Sea Air, that's one of the other seaplanes that comes over to Nanaimo. And like I say, again, it's about a 20-minute ride. Absolutely worth taking in. When you get off at Departure Bay, and if you were decided to go for a walk, even if you just wanted to walk to the first little bit, this used to be a public market down at the waterfront, just across from the ferry arrivals area. So this is a kayaking company that's there. You can rent a kayak for an hour, you can rent it for half a day or a whole day. You can go on a tour, you can do it on your own. And so this is opened up again. This is Miller's Pub, so that might just be a nice way you could come in, regroup, have something to eat. There's a view outside. They have patio area in the back. You could sit inside and just kind of, digest and look at the beautiful water. You see the sailboats that are in the marinas. And it could just be a nice starting point of how you plan the rest of your day. You could go for a short walk along the water path here, just explore a little bit. You cannot walk all the way into Nanaimo, downtown Nanaimo from the ferry on one straight line. You can go 10, 15 minutes, then you have to come up to the main road and jog along, and then you have to go back down. However, like I say, this might be like a nice little option. Just kind of get your groove, then take a taxi from here. And like I say, it would be less than $20 to get to downtown. And that's just another view of the kayak rentals, which is alongside that pub. And there's another restaurant too. They're actually right in front of the pub. I don't recall what type of food, but it's at a higher end. And I think it's like a white linens, and it's a nice restaurant. And this is just part of downtown, the waterfront, all the fun activity that's going on. This stuff's going on all throughout the summer. And you can easily see this walking along the waterfront. One of the parks downtown is called Maffeo Sutton Park. And from there, you could just get to see everybody that's just taking in the little sailing dinghies. There's little sailing dinghies to school. And people that have anchored out, to just for fun. They're either summer vacationers, or some people actually live here year-round on their boats. And then that's Protection Island in behind there. And there's a pub that's called the Dinghy Dock Pub. Now they are open, I believe it's Sunday to Thursday. They're adhering to some of the COVID restrictions. And it's a little ferry, which I'll show you in a few minutes, that you can take to get over there. That's kind of a fun thing to do as well, because then you get to sit on the other side, sit outside the patio, and then you get to view downtown Nanaimo. So this is one of the marinas. So just where you just saw this little boats sailing around and having fun, this is in that same area. And you can see the sidewalk along there. That path goes all the way along through into downtown. So it's just a nice leisurely stroll. It's divided, so everybody walks same as a car. You've got people going on the right side, people going on the left side. And there's lots of space. And there's benches along the way too. So it's just it's just such a beautiful view. It's such a beautiful view just to be able to come in and stroll along and take in the sunshine, take in the ocean and see the mountains on the other side of Vancouver. This is Maffeo Sutton Park. So this is one of the main parks downtown that you will come to. And like they generally do like, the festivals and concerts and that sort of thing. But of course with COVID, everything's been shut down. It's starting to open up a little bit. There's lots of space. You can comfortably walk around. You could bring a lunch. You could go for a walk. You could go for ice cream. You could just sit and read. The building to the right where that gentleman's walking, those are the washrooms, and they have murals and live plants on the outside of the building. And if you were to bring your vehicle over and you needed it, there's these parking spots there. Most of them are wheelchair accessible. So they're labeled for people with disabilities. So you'd have your permit on your vehicle and there's no fee for parking there. And this is that same park, but we're just entering it from the main road, and then we're looking across. So when you look straight across, that island that you've seen, that's Gabriola Island. Gabriola Island. So if you were coming, say, from the Tawasin ferry, you would actually, on the ferry, sail past the other side of Gabriola. So there's our big, beautiful new sign in Nanaimo. I don't even know how long it's been there, but I know it's brand new. It's absolutely beautiful. And when I was in Mexico last, which was just before COVID hit, they have very similar signs there for the different cities. So I was excited to see that we have something similar. And that's behind that sign that you just saw. So that's the lagoon. That's how we refer to it. That's the lagoon. And you can walk along the right side of it. You can walk along the left side of it, up over the bridge. It's a bit steep when you first start to come up on the bridge on the left-hand side. So if you were, needed to be leery of where you're stepping and how you're stepping, you might feel more comfortable to come around on the right side because that's just flat the whole way around. And that's the view that you see as you're walking through the waterfront, along the waterfront. You can just see. So Protection Island is the one that's on the right. Newcastle Island is the one that's on the left. It's about a little 10-minute little ferry ride across. And on Newcastle Island, you can go camping. You can stay there for the day. They actually have a couple of lakes there as well. They have a pavilion where they have food available. And you can walk all the way around the outside. You can, a lot of people go kayaking over there. So had you decided to rent a kayak when we got off the ferry, that's a great little spot to go to. And then the tide in between those two islands gets low enough sometimes you can actually walk directly across between the islands. And that's just some flowers that are down at the lagoon. I thought were beautiful. And there's another view. And you can see the little ramp there. So you can come up along the sidewalk and get down onto the beach. It's a nice little place to cool off. Some beautiful little benches along the way. And if you wanted just to walk along, and so here's the steeper side that I was mentioning. And the reason that comes to my attention is because one of my daughters is in a manual wheelchair. And I'm hoofing it when I'm using my full extension of my feet and my legs to get her up and over. It doesn't look much from here, but when I'm pushing her, I can feel it. And so Newcastle Island, a provincial marine park. And so there's just a little map of the little island that we just saw. And that little green boat, that's your little ferry. So that scoots you across. It's a little wobbly if you're not used to, being on a little boat. They'd help you step down. There's solid, they have a little board that comes across, a little stepping spot that is solid, and they'll help you on and off. They have limited capacity too right now in terms of related to COVID, in terms of how many people they can have on it at one time. But it's a regular service back and forth, back and forth. So, you could go over, spend 10 minutes there, turn around and come back, or you could go over and spend a couple of hours there and come back. And when you pay your ticket, it's a round trip. So you just have to pay them once, and then you can get back to Nanaimo. That's just another view of the same area. the Coast Guard ships in port. And those island in behind, like I say, that's Gabriola. And this dock on the right-hand side closest to the front of the picture, that's just where the seaplane goes in. And I thought this was an interesting little sign, 10 ways to travel safely. Number 1, do your research. Number 2, be respectful. 3, travel in smaller groups. 4, more time, fewer locations. Number 5, pack essentials. 6, stay apart to stay safe. Number 7, leave no trace. Be adventure smart. Number 9, be calm, be patient, and be kind, echoing Bonnie Henry's words. And number 10, support local and have fun. I thought that was kind of cool. And this is one of the pubs that you can get to right on the waterfront. So again, and the seaplane terminal is in the same building to the left of this pub. So this is beautiful. You've just got a beautiful view of the waterfront. All the boats are around, the ships, the Coast Guard, people canoeing, people kayaking, people sailing. Big yachts come in here. You can sit outside. You can sit inside. They have a bistro and then more of a pub style upstairs. You can get anything from appetizers to a nice, light, tasty salad to something a little bit more extravagant. Prices are reasonable, and it's been around for a long time. This is a picture of downtown Nanaimo. This is one of the main streets downtown. And there's coffee shops, the museum. You can just slightly see the museum sign to the left. And they've got a gift shop in there. Some kind of cool stuff in there. There's some bookstores on the right. There's actually 2 used bookstores side by side. One currently right now is going out of business because they've lost their lease. So if you were to come over in this next short while, you'd probably get some pretty good prices on some fun books. And they have beautiful selection, like just a wide variety selection of books. And then behind that silver car, there's a little outdoor patio. That's a really nice restaurant. They serve all sorts of different types of vegan type of food, very different type of food. It's all fresh, very well made. And there's an art gallery at the top right-hand side there with really unique items. And the guy that owns the shop, he pivoted to selling everything online once we got into COVID. And he said it's been quite an experience going from having people come into a gallery to purchase and to purchasing online. But he said it's worked really well. And so he's been able to keep his business thriving. So that's been encouraging. Mm-hmm. And so this is, again, just downtown in Nanaimo, some little coffee shops and that along the way. And bakeries, there's bakeries, the libraries there. Oh, and I just happened to notice this, which has nothing really to do with the trip, except it's an updated BC Seniors Guide. And it includes information on pharmacare, medical services, adaptations for independence programs, shelter aid, BC Senior Supplement, travel assistance, the BC Bus Program. So I just thought I would mention that because it caught my attention. The Nanaimo Art Gallery, they have a little gift gallery in there as well, and they have a very nice open space. So masks are suggested but not mandatory. Kind of fun to go in and see somebody else's talents and gifts. This is our Pride painted intersection downtown. There's a coffee shop across the way. There's a number of coffee shops in Nanaimo, and there's a couple little hotels along the way. You could come and do an overnight, and they have gift shops and that as well, and little restaurants you can stop into if you want to have something to eat. This is the closer up of the bookstore that we just spoke about. Lots and lots of books. So now the Handy Dart, if you are registered with the Handy Dart in Vancouver already, you're welcome to make arrangements to take the Handy Dart when you come over to Nanaimo. But you have to be registered as a live-in in the Vancouver Handy Dart system. Then you would contact Handy Dart in Nanaimo directly to make your own bookings. However, they only have one bus available on the weekends. So ideally, for planning purposes, if the Handy Dart's of assistance to you, I would suggest coming over during the weekdays. And again, if you come Monday to Thursday, there's no fee for traveling on the ferry, and you're allowed to book 1 week in advance. So those are important and their number is 390-3000. So again, you have to be registered in Vancouver, and then you would make your arrangements directly in Nanaimo.
Okay, did you say Monday through Thursday or just Thursday is free for seniors?
Oh, Monday to Thursday.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's worthwhile coming over then because, the weekend gets busier, right? So you might as well come during the week when there's less people. And there's a place downtown called Bowen Park, and it's absolutely beautiful. And what fascinates me about it is that you can be in the wilderness, you can be in this beautiful park, and within 5 minutes step out of it, and then you're back into downtown. So if you were to come into town and you went downtown, you wanted to take a taxi there, it'd be like about a 5-minute ride, $10, $15 perhaps by taxi to get there. It's 36-hectare park. They have a waterfall fish ladder, duck pond. The amphitheater is beautiful. The shade and sun. It's private. It's just, they used to do concerts and stuff there, but of course with COVID going on, that has come to an end so far. But it's just a nice space if you wanted just a place to walk around, take your lunch with you. And there's covered picnic shelter areas. There's tennis courts. There's a waterfall. And just a nice place just to connect. And they have beautiful, beautiful rhododendron gardens. Of course, we're at the end of the season with the rhododendrons, but you can still see the gardens. And they have tennis courts there. They have a curling there. There's a swimming pool there. There's all sorts of things. And this is from the Nanaimo side, where we were just downtown looking at everything, looking over to the Lower Mainland. We also have the Military Museum and the Nanaimo Museum, so if that's of interest to you. I've had a few people go through the Military Museum and been quite fascinated by all the history that's there. And Nanaimo is a coal mining town. That's its history. And they still actually have some of the tunnels and stuff between here and the island, like Newcastle Island, Protection Island, of when they used to do the mining. And so over and above, coming to Nanaimo, there's 2 websites. One is called explorebc.com, and it will connect you to hellobc.com. And they're fabulous sites if you want to start doing some planning to come travel through BC now that things are opening up a little bit. So whether you're coming to the island, other places in BC, it's definitely worth having a look at. And so when you're in Explore BC, they have all these different sections. Now, for me, it's a little bit overwhelming because there's so much information, but very handy. Need to know gives you travel information around the fires, what's going on with the fires, accessibility in terms of how to get around to the province in different areas, different means of transportation, whether it's air, rail, ferry. They've got all sorts of ideas and suggestions for accommodations. Talks about the weather. There's visitor information services, and there's visitor information kiosks all over the place in BC. We have one here in Nanaimo as well. So tourism office is a good place if you're wanting to do some planning. And they've got the tour operators, maps and travel ideas. So a lot of information, but definitely worthwhile. This is Departure Bay, looking across again to Vancouver, and you can just see, look at that. The ferry, we've got a freighter, we've got a sailboat in the foreground. They don't call it beautiful British Columbia for no reason. It's just absolutely breathtaking. Oh, now there's the treat, the Nanaimo Bar, the Nanaimo Bar. And it's calorie free. Well, maybe not.
I used to buy those in Toronto, never knowing that there was an actual place called Nanaimo.
Yeah, I know. When my husband first started talking to me about moving to Nanaimo, I was like, Nanaimo? What the heck is Nanaimo? And how do people back east? I've met people from Australia. What brings you from Australia to Nanaimo, of all places? Anyway, there's the recipe, and I can always get you guys a copy on the recipe, but they are delicious. And now there's another website, travel.gc, government.ca, if you wanted to find out recent updates around COVID. Apparently now our borders are open between here and the U.S. And so again, lots of information, but probably worthwhile checking out depending on what you'd like to do. This is from the dock in front of us. That's where the seaplane or one of the boats would come in. And then that's looking into the waterfront in Nanaimo. So that pub that we were talking about, that taller building in the front behind the Coast Guard, that's the seaplane terminal, arrival and departure. And the shorter building to the left, that's that pub, the Lighthouse Bistro. And so you can, part of the restaurant is in the same building as the seaplane. So you can sit window side and just have the entire view of the harbor while you're having your lunch. So now here is my little take on why it's more advantageous to come to Nanaimo instead of Victoria as a walk-on passenger. Now that's just for walk-ons because driving is a lot different. Horseshoe Bay is accessible by the local transit, taxi, or have a friend drop you off. Arrival in Nanaimo is easy access to downtown, either again by walking, depending on the weather and your physical ability, what's going on for you in that particular day with your body. Taxi, bus, friend. It gives you more time to explore and relax and have fun versus traveling to Victoria. And the reason I say that is it's the length of time is the same amount of time to take a ferry to Victoria, except once you get to Victoria, you're on a bus. There's only one way out of Victoria. So traffic gets busy. They have lots of summertime construction. So again, if you just wanted to come over for the day for something light, something fun, something different to do, I would definitely suggest Nanaimo versus Victoria. If you wanted to go to Victoria, then I would definitely suggest planning to spend at least one night so that you can really get, a full use out of it. We have a variety of ferry arrival and departure times without having to get the ferry first thing in the day, because like I say, it can make for a long day. And you don't have to stay the night if you come to Nanaimo. You can, of course, but you don't have to stay the night. And this is one of the beautiful yachts that happens to be downtown, so it's always fun just to sit and look at other things that people are using in terms of getting around. And again, that's another view from downtown Nanaimo, looking out toward the Sound. Protection Island's on the right, Newcastle's on the left. And that's where the ferry comes in Departure Bay. That's where the ferry arrives in Departure Bay. And that is a little overview of what it would look like if you wanted to come and hang out in Nanaimo.
That was
Anyone have any
great.
questions?
Yeah, thanks for a very detailed presentation, Nansey. That was really great. I'm just wondering if you knew what the price would be for the seaplane.
Oh, it's better part of about $75, I believe.
Okay. And we haven't been over to Nanaimo for years. I think we were over there in the 70s. And I'm sure we would have noticed a lot of changes if we decided to go back. So I remember the little fun ride over to Newcastle Island. And I remember when we were over there, there was some displays about the coal mines that were over there. Have they done anything with that to make that more of a tourist attraction or?
Well, they have the bastion downtown because they used to have they shoot the cannons off in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've done specifically with the coal mines, I'm not sure. I actually used to volunteer and do tours of the museum around the coal mining times and what it was like. They had a great exhibit inside the museum itself because all the pictures and the artifacts and things. So it would give you a sense of what it used to be like. And but specifically, I don't know the answer to that question. It's a great question, and I'll check it out a little bit more and see if I can learn more about it.
Yeah, if there was maybe a walking tour or something.
Apparently they have walking tours here for ghosts.
No, I mean on Newcastle Island.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I just stand at the side. I'm just like that just popped into my head. But yes, I don't know, but I certainly will find out. But Newcastle is it's beautiful, and again, what I like about it is you can just make it. I'm all about the adventure, right? So you can just go, for a couple of hours. You could go and stay overnight. You could just go for ice cream. You could go because you want to walk around the whole place. You could go because you just want to sit on the beach and put your feet in the sand and play in the water a little bit. And I just
remember it was a fun little trip over there with the little ferry. And
it is. Yeah, you like the sound of that. And you're on the water and you've got that cool breeze and you're taking in the sunshine and you get to look at everybody else's fun that they're having with all their water recreational, like whether they're on a dinghy or they're on a canoe or a kayak. And it's always fun to see that. And then I think it gives us inspiration. Oh, I want to go and do that as well. Right. And if you don't happen to have a big yacht that, to hang out in, you're still on the water and you can see the sea life and take in the ocean and the breeze. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun.
I like the way you pointed out the different areas that people can sit on the ferry, because I was wondering with seniors, do you have to stand up or is it comfortable? So I really, appreciated you mentioning the different places that you could sit in a cafe or that there are a lot of benches available.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the ferries, because the cafeterias can get quite busy, and they're encouraging people still to stay on deck, like in their vehicles. If they did change the rules, because for a while there, they were allowing people to stay on the bottom deck in their vehicles, but they've rescinded that. So now if your vehicle's on the bottom deck, you have to come up on board. Most people will come and sit in the cafeteria. They'll either take their food with them or they'll buy food. And then they tend to, keep staying in those spaces, even though they really should, when they finish eating, get up and move. But the ferry's really good. Like if they're busy, they'll make announcements and they'll invite people, just gently remind them, once you finish eating, we need to make it available for other people. And of course, COVID has added to everything in terms of distancing and that sort of thing. However, the seating in the cafeteria is far more comfortable because they have, the benches and that are cushioned, they're padded, so they're comfortable. And they have wheelchair accessible tables. So if you specifically need more space, the table's set up because the seats are fixed to the floor and to the table, but they'll have like a space that's open, so you can just come up in your chair, or if you had a walker and you can sit comfortably. And those tables are positioned closest to the things that you would need to get to, like say closest to the cashier or closest to where the the utensils and that sort of thing are. So, and then in the middle areas so there's quite a bit of space, and there's lots of exits to get in and out. So you have space to walk past one another, and like I say, they'll make announcements. And if you need any assistance, like let's say you've got too many things in your hand and now you've got your tray and everything, once you finish eating, you can just ask somebody to come around and clear your tray for you. Or if you got sat down and you realize that you forgot a utensil or you wanted some more water, whatever, feel comfortable to call on them and they'll come and give you a hand. Absolutely.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And the ferry ride, like whether you travel from Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay, or if you travel from Tawasin over to Duke Point. Now, if you arrive in Duke Point, it's a good half hour, 40 minutes from Duke Point into Nanaimo. So, you really would want to have a vehicle, unless, again, you made arrangements with a friend. Or you could take a taxi. It's just going to cost you a little bit more. However, the way I look at it when I'm on the ferry, especially on a beautiful summer day, it's time to yourself. And,
right.
and you just see like the sun glistening on the water. You can see whales. There's quite often that there'll be porpoises or whales. We've had, and the ship will make an announcement. If the captain or somebody on board sees that there's a whale sighting, they'll announce it, and then everybody will go starboard, right? And then the ship will lean to the right or whatever, right? But they let you know, and it's fascinating too. Like even if you watch as the ferry's starting to dock, and you see what's involved in terms of the ferry coming in and docking and how they have to put their engines on, and you can see just taking in the beauty of the trees and the plants and it's just a nice little, you're on the water, you put your responsibilities down for the day. It's a little trip for yourself, and gets you out of the city, gets you to do something different. Mm-hmm. And then you get back on board and go back home and feel like you've had some fun.
And it's at a great price.
And it's a great price. Free is free. That's a fabulous price. If you bring your own lunch, it's even a better price,
Yeah, I think it's wonderful with, being shut in. We some people are acting out because they've had to be shut in for so long. But with all of the accommodations, having wheelchair, the handy dart, that this is a good thing to look at doing. A hot day like today, I wish I was already over there, but I'm definitely going to find out how long. I didn't realize it also that you had to make a reservation. I thought, but I was thinking this holiday we just passed a couple of days before it. I said, I was going to get a ticket. My daughter said they're all gone. So just being mindful that, even though it's free, you need to make a reservation.
Yes, it's always best for planning purposes in advance because, like I say, it's summertime. Everything's opening up again. There's lots of construction, summer construction, the energy in the air because we're almost halfway through August. So now we're winding into September, and September is a real transition month of energy for people because we're winding down and going into new things. There's lots of people that are on holidays with their kids and stuff, and so the ferries are busy, so and they're not even taking reservations at some point. So planning is definitely a good idea.
And by the way, there's a bus to Horseshoe Bay. You take the train to the Burrard station, and at Burrard in Georgia, there's a bus that goes directly to the ferry terminal at Horseshoe Bay.
Yes, yeah, perfect, yeah. And even taking the bus too, like the bus rides in Horseshoe Bay down and across to come over the bridge over Lionsgate, it's beautiful. It's a nice ride, but it can get busy. So timing is, important too, because it can get busy and they get crowded, and the buses have accessible seats near the front of the bus, but it can get a little bit claustrophobic, and people that are traveling with their suitcase and stuff. And they have areas at the front of the bus where they can put their luggage and everything, but it can be a little bit overwhelming and, squeezing for space and that sort of thing. So like I say, timing's important.
I really appreciate you showing that to us because people say there's nothing to do. I've even sometimes said there's nothing to do. And this sounds like such a wonderful adventure. And you don't have to, one of the shows, Jeopardy or something, and they had a Paradise Island trip, and they said it's only $7,000, and you've shown things that just for going over that for as little as the bus fare, or if you have the handy dart, you could use that, or even if you spent $20, it's not like the thousands of dollars people have to put aside with planning to go to a beautiful island. So I call that our getaway to the islands next door. And for me to stop saying, I'd like to go over there to look at all those tips that you gave and put a plan in motion, put a reservation in motion.
Yeah, I want to thank Nansey. I really feel like going to Nanaimo right away.
Oh, right on.
Hearing her. Thank you. Every time I thought of asking something, there you were with the information before I could even ask for it. And I like the ideas you gave about, what you could do. I don't know whether I understood that properly. If you're waiting for the ferry, then there were those places. That was my worry. What if you get there early and to the ferry? I mean, because I'm like over cautious about traveling, and then maybe you have to wait for a long time to take the ferry. So what do you do then?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and that can happen. So the good thing, well, there's all sorts of good things. The ferry terminal the ticket booths open at a particular time, and they shut down. They have a closing time before they close off the ticket sales. So if you were to arrive at either terminal ahead of time, the doors are always open. So regardless of the weather, whether it's really hot or cold or rainy or snow or whatever, you have protection. So you can come inside, and there's always a place to sit, and they have washrooms as well. So, okay. And in Horseshoe Bay, for example, if you were to get there early, and they have, so if you were to get there and you needed to purchase a ticket, they have kiosks there that are available, 24/7. If you needed to wait until the ticket booth opens so that you could get your ticket, whether you're paying for it or not, there's coffee shops that are right there. So if you wanted just to step inside the ferry terminal building without traveling, and doing other things, you could just stay inside just to stay protected. There's benches outside in Horseshoe Bay as well. There's coffee shops. There's also, they have like a pizza place, and they have a Subway sandwich place, and they have a store. Great. All sorts. There's all sorts of things in Horseshoe Bay. So like little cafes right up to restaurants. And there's also there's also a park right there. So you could sit out, if the weather's adaptable, like you could sit outside at the park and you could look into Horseshoe Bay, which is absolutely breathtaking. And you can see the ferry come and go. So if you're like, I need to get my ticket, but the ferry's not here, you have lots of time as the ferry's docking that you can go get your ticket. And then the same in Nanaimo, if you get down there early and the weather's inclement or it's just too hot or whatever, you can stay inside. So there's always, and there's places to sit. There's washroom facilities. There's places to get something to drink. There's places to get something to eat. There's places just to hang out. So yeah, it
couldn't ask for anything more. Wonderful. Yeah. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
For this. Lovely.
Well, next week, Ramona's going to be giving us the ins and outs of influencers to see what is that all about.
It's going to be rather short, though, Charlotte. Not like, I hope that's okay. I mean, that's not going to be like Nansey, a long talk. I hope. I mean, I don't think it would be more than 10 minutes.
Okay, and then we have questions because we want to know how can I become an influencer? Our seniors becoming an influencers.
Yes, I would definitely welcome that.
We look forward to that.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thank you for joining in today. Thank you for all of the information, and we're going to move it to music as we go out. I want you to remember to, as you're sitting, raise your arms, think of being a tree, float. I'm thinking of Ali, float like a butterfly. You don't have to sting like a bee. But you can just move. Get up out of the chair, move, or just let your arms blow to the left, blow to the right, or you can make your own fan. If you just take your arms, everybody take your arms and just circle them in toward your face. You can feel that air. Then reverse it, push it away, and then sway to the left, sway to the right, and know that everything is going to be all right. And I'll see you again here next week at 1 for Powered by Age.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.